your Catholic Drive Time
with Joe McClane and EmilyiAlcaraz.
Joining us right now, all the way from Italy on Zoom chat, is Solène Tadié. She is a journalist, a reporter with the National Catholic Register, and she has a couple of stories that really interest us here on the team. One was the coronavirus lockdown has increased persecutions against the Christian worldwide. The other one had to do with family being a part of the solution to get us out of the current crazy. So we invited her to be on. Good morning to you, Solène. Thank you for being on with us.
Good morning to you. Thank you for having me.
Praise be to Jesus Christ. We're very grateful for your time. Let's start with the coronavirus lockdown has increased. Now, we've seen a lot of reporting over the past year of increased depression, increased abuse, increased addictions, and all kinds of very bad markers for society. But I'm not sure how many people have connected coronavirus lockdowns with persecutions. Tell us about your article and what you found.
Yes, but basically in 2020, the figures were already extremely bad, but it has further increased in 2021, since there are like 340 million Christians worldwide who have experienced or a high level of persecution or extreme level of persecution in 2020. So during the report of 2021. So these figures are terrible. It's the first time in the World Watch List history that among all of the 50 countries recorded, a very high level or extreme level of persecution and discrimination were recorded. So it's still North Korea who ranks first among the greatest persecutions for Christians, but it was followed by Afghanistan, Somalia, and Libya and Pakistan. But the news that should be really mentioned is the fact that, yes, the health crisis has increased a lot, this phenomenon, especially in countries like India, Central Asia, where Christians were not considered by government aids, like with medicines, masks, food packages. So the situation was extremely difficult for them. So this is what I've been founding following this annual conference held at the Italian Chamber of Deputies. It's presented by Open Doors Italy. So these figures are very concerning, and it was also an opportunity for governments like India and China to increase their technological surveillance over the population. We know that how China has been controlling the population through technology for years, but this year it has increased terribly through the health restriction because it gave them the opportunity to do that. We know that, for instance, it's forbidden for minors below 18 years old to attend Mass, but now they had the power to control everyone, to make sure to control who could attend Mass or not. So it's extremely concerning, and if we are not careful about that, it could also touch us in the West as well, because if we generalize this mass surveillance system, it's an open door for governments to control anything and to control our religious freedom. So we must be extremely careful about that. This is the main tendency I've been reporting about in my article.
Yeah, one thing you mentioned in the article here, and I'll read it, it says, presented by Open Doors, the Italian Bureau, during the January 13th news conference at the Chamber of Deputies in Rome. The report, referring to the period between October the 1st to September 30th, mentioned in particular a 60% increase in the number of Christians killed because of their faith. 60%, Solène, that is a terrible increase. How much reporting is happening about the Christian persecutions in general, let alone coronavirus related, in Europe right now?
Well, it's difficult to say because the director of the Rome Bureau of Open Doors told me that he sees an increase of interest on the part of governments. So it's a very good point. He feels that people are getting more concerned about the persecution of Christians worldwide. He's getting more and more media attention. But at the same time, it's still a very underreported topic. We dedicate very little money to the protection of Christians and religious freedom worldwide. So it's still very paradoxical in the sense that there is a growing interest, but at the same time, we don't really take we are not careful about the current situation. We are not really concerned about what is going on and this mass surveillance worldwide. So you've just mentioned the fact that many Christians were killed, like 60% more, but it was it happened mostly in Africa, Nigeria and the sub-Saharan regions. So it's still very concentrated in the African region of the world, while in other parts of the world, like Asia, India, Central Asia, it's more of a discrimination through government aids and politics or mass surveillance. So it's a different kind of persecution from a country to another, from a part of the world to another. There is something new as well in Central America, South America. So we know that they can be very violent countries for Christians, but since the health restrictions have prevented a lot of the police and military forces to be more on the ground, it has given them the opportunity to commit abuses on local population. It has had a terrible impact on Christian communities as well.
Solène Tadié is our guest today. She is with the National Catholic Register, and she has these articles that we're discussing. This one here is on coronavirus lockdowns, increasing Christian persecutions worldwide. It's pretty startling news. Somewhat related to this, though, Solène, I wonder, we've seen reports. They don't get reported all that much in the mainstream news outlets here in America, but we've seen reports about people coming out and protesting these lockdowns. So when we get back from this very short break, I want to ask you about that. What is the pulse of Europe right now in connection to lockdown? So we're hopefully have you comment on that on the other side of this very short break. So don't go anywhere. More conversation with Solène Tadié. Solène, before we went to the break, I wanted to bring up the protests across Europe to lockdowns, and I wondered how they might be related to this story. I don't think it gets reported all that much in mainstream media in America that there are a lot of protests. At least it would seem that way. Maybe you could give us the real deal there in Europe. Are people getting tired of these lockdowns? Could that be leading to increased anxiety and frustration and lashing out against groups like Christians? Solène Tadié, National Catholic Register.
Yes, definitely. We can feel on the ground that people are getting tired of lockdowns and the health restrictions because they want to be together again. We are not meant to live like that. So people are getting tired, definitely. But at the same time, so we can see like protest movements raising slowly in France, in Italy. It happened in the first place with restaurants willing to open anyways. Against the government restrictions. It happened in February 1st in France and a few weeks earlier in Italy. But for now, it hasn't really been fruitful in Italy or in France. But at the same time, we've seen in countries like Holland or Sweden, people resisting far more to these restrictions. So we can see something is happening. It's not really clear right now. We don't really know where we're going, like that. It's not really clear. We can definitely feel that there is a feeling like people are tired of this situation. They want to change. In Italy, there is hope now with the change of government. So people just want to have their life back, and be together again, be able to live and go to church and receive Holy Communion properly, finally. And so we just hope that things are going to move for the best in the coming months.
Yeah, and now I wanted to ask you about this other article that you wrote for the National Catholic Register. It's called "Why There Will Be No Way Out of the Post-COVID Social Crisis Without the Family." Now, you're looking ahead with this article, so could you tell us about the social crisis that you're anticipating and how the family will be able to rescue us from it?
Well, as you may know, Europe has already entered a demographic winter years ago. It was officially in 2015, but it started like years before. So it has dramatically intensified with the coronavirus health crisis, obviously, because we are facing a huge social and economic crisis, and families how now hesitating even more to have children because they are afraid they just cannot afford having children. So it is a very concerning situation. So there is a foundation in Europe called the Federation of Catholic Family Associations in Europe, the FAFC, which has been promoting a series of conferences, European conferences with very important high-level European policymakers to concretely help people raise awareness about the future of families in the continent. Because if we don't defend families, let's be clear, the continent has no future because families are bearing the whole continent. If we lose a family, we lose everything, because if we're not able to ensure our demographic sustainability, we are not going anywhere. So this is what we've been trying to raise awareness about. So we've been able to discuss with a lot of people in the past weeks, and I hope we've been raising some concern, enough concern among these policymakers, because we need a change.
Is it too late for countries like Italy, for instance, who has not been producing enough children to even sustain their own people? Is it possible to turn that around at this point, or is Italy's future going to be a future of people who aren't from Italy and don't have a history in Italy?
It's very complicated to say. I cannot give a very accurate answer to that. I know that the last figures are devastating, literally devastating. We've never had figures like that. It's like the last country of Europe, but the tendency is global. You know, in Europe, in France used to be it used to have a good demographic trend, but with the coronavirus, we haven't had. These figures were so low that it was like right after World War II, just to give you an idea. So the situation is devastating everywhere. In Italy, I don't know if we can reverse the trend in the coming years, perhaps through very strong family policies, but I'm not even sure. I'm not an expert on this topic, but we need to raise awareness about that with policy makers, so that they at least try to make a change and try to reverse the trends. I don't know if we still can do something. The situation is extremely serious here, so I cannot affirm that we can do something, but we need to try at least. You know, we can just give up like that, because Italy is a very important country. It is where we have the church here, and it should be the basis of this demographic renewal in Europe. And if we don't do anything, I'm afraid the trend is going to be extremely worrisome in the coming years.
Now, in the nation of Hungary, they've sort of defended themselves against this trend by implementing pro-family policies and incentivizing people to have children. Are other nations in Europe as well also implementing these? And if not, why are they not doing that?
It's complicated because, as I discussed with Katalin Novak, the Minister for Family in Hungary, she told me there is a taboo about demographic winter in Europe, and it is a very serious issue, because since we are not able to discuss a problem, an issue, it's like a taboo. We cannot address it properly. So we can just speak about demographic issue, but we cannot really explain that we have a huge drop in natality rate. So we would just say we need more migrants in Europe to make sure that we will make pensions and retirement systems sustainable, but it's not enough. And so she told me, in Hungary, at least, we are the only country which is really addressing the problem and speaking about it like out loud, like facing the problem and saying, okay, yes, we have a problem, and we are going to try to address the problem with concrete policies. And so they have extremely efficient policies. It's like the model in Europe for pro-family activists. Like Hungary is the best possible model, because they have been implementing very serious policies to encourage young people to make more children. They are very incentivized to have children, like financially and socially, and it's having a lot of effects. Even during the pandemic, it's the only country that hasn't seen any drop in its natality rates over the past year. So it's huge. It's showing that their policy is working.
We're talking with Solène Tadié from the National Catholic Register about the coronavirus lockdowns, Christian persecution, and the family situation, which seems very, very dire there in Europe. But it's not just Europe. I mean, even here in America, forget about 2020 for a moment and the coronavirus. The Georgetown University holds the statistics for the USCCB over the last 50 years. And when you go, you can Google it, look for it yourself. But when you look at these statistics over the past 50 years in the church in America, you see a massive drop in baptisms, infant baptisms, let alone adult baptisms, marriages. People just simply aren't being sacramentally married in America. So we already saw a massive decrease in church attendance. Parishes are closing, religious vocations are down. These all statistics are down in America on a whole. If you took out the immigration, I think we are not popular. We are not having children at a high enough rate to sustain or even our own culture. Then you add immigration back, and we seem to be above what Europe is averaging. Solène, what are the bishops saying about this in Europe? It doesn't get talked about much in America. Are the bishops and pastors in Europe, are they preaching on this? Are they talking about this at all?
I'm not really aware about that. Right now, the coronavirus crisis and it's taking a lot of attention. So I couldn't answer in a very accurate way.
With the coronavirus added on top of all of that, I think I saw a report, and I'm just speaking off the top of my head because I don't recall completely, but I thought I saw a report that said they were surprised that there weren't more conceptions and births as a result of the lockdown. Has there been any increase or decrease on conception and births as a result of the lockdowns in Europe?
I'm afraid not. This is what we hoped for months ago, but eventually the trend is not here. We're still witnessing a drop in the natality rate. So, because people are discouraged of having children because they are not even sure they can afford children. So the situation is still critical. We were really hoping to have more children as a consequence of the lockdown, but it seems not to be the case. Since we've been having these devastating figures all around Europe, even in France, where usually we have a good natality rate, it has never been so low since World War II, as I was saying earlier. So unfortunately, the trend is not what we expected. In the UK, for instance, we were expecting such a trend, but it seems not to be the case. I mentioned that in my article as well. For now, the figures are not good, but we'll see in the coming months. For now, it looks like the financial aspect is having the upper end over all of the rest. People they are putting aside their desire for children. Okay. And they're just trying to focus on their economic life. And unfortunately, for now, this is the trend.
All right. Solène Tadié from the National Catholic Register, God bless you. Thank you for your time today and giving us the update. We're very grateful for you being on the program. We'd love to have you back sometime.
My pleasure.
All right, we're linking to Solène's articles. Make sure you read those and check them out. Very insightful. Something to pray about. Another thing to add to our prayer list. That's going to do it for Hour 1 of Catholic Drive Time. We hope you can stick around because we still have a lot more Catholic Drive Time still to come. Of course, breaking news and stories, Saint of the Day, Gospel of the Day. We'll have our game show. ChooseLife.com is our sponsor. More opportunity to win prizes this week. Plus the after show, where we'll discuss everything we talked about in the program today. All that coming up if you can hang out with us on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, or across the grnonline.com. We'd love to have you. God bless you. God love you. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us on Your Catholic Drive Time, where it is our pleasure to keep you informed and inspired.
Join us Monday through Friday at the same time, right here on your favorite Catholic radio station.
Don't forget to connect with us. Just go to facebook.com/Catholic Drive Time.
Again, that's facebook.com/Catholic Drive Time.
Be sure to share more than just us today. Share Jesus with everyone you meet.
Bye now, and God love you.